Hello and welcome to Saffron Model Railways. Following previous videos, I had been asked about the road signage around Mallaig Station. I obviously base my layout on Mallaig, so it's pretty easy to work out exactly what the road signs need to be. However, if your layout is of a fictional location, the process of making these signs can remain exactly the same. Clearly, there are many sources of information as to how the signs should look and where they're positioned. I tend to find that Street View is really good, as you can see from this extraction. Also, I have many photographs of Mallaig myself, so I can use those as a source of reference. Obviously the internet, pictures of Mallaig, they're all great sources of reference, and I've used them for pretty much all of the signage on the layout. If it's simply station signage you want or line side signage, then there is sankyscenics.co.uk or various other manufacturers who will arrange to have these things printed for you. It's probably easier than making them yourself, but when it comes to bespoke ones, this is what I wanted to show you. So the first thing we're going to need is information about how road traffic signs in the UK are made up. The current road traffic signs were designed, bit of history for you here, between sort of 1957 and 63 by Jock Kinnear and Margaret Calvert, who were working as designers for the Department of Transport. At the time, they came up with the typeface and all the colourings. So you can get some of the information about the colouring and the types of signage from the government's website, gov.uk. We'll come to the fonts in a moment, but on this page you can see in front of you, you can see the address there, and if you scroll down you can download information about the signage or what the signage looks like for you to copy and paste. And you can also get the colour palettes. We're going to use predominantly dark green on my signage there, which is the RGB red 0, green 112, blue 60. And I'll show you how to set that shortly. It appears that there's no licensing on this. You can use them as you want. There's no issues. So the next thing you'll need is the fonts, and I've managed to find these at roads.org.uk. The ones I'm going to be using are predominantly Transport Medium, which is the font to use on a green background, as I'm doing. There's also Transport Heavy, which I think is when you're using on a lighter background, so it might be worth downloading both of them. There's zip files, which if you just click on it, download them, undo the zip file, it then puts fonts on your PC ready for you to use in Word or whatever your chosen program is. There are other things. If we scroll down here, just so you know, there's motorway fonts. I don't need those at all. Temporary fonts, etc. There's some pavement signs, and there's also old road sign fonts for those of you who may want to do old style signage. So today we're going to concentrate on the sign on the left-hand side, not the tourist sign on the right. So the first thing we'll do is to actually make the green sign background, and I'm going to use Word for this. To me it seems the easiest way of doing it. So first thing I'm going to do is to use the insert function and insert a rectangular shape. So if I put a rectangular shape in there, click on Word, and it comes up with the box. It defaults to blue, but if you right click over the background, go to Format Shape, go over to this side, and then we'll use the fill box here. So under colour, if we click on fill colour and then more colours there, we can alter the RGB fonts. And as we said earlier, that's red 0, green is 112, and blue is 60. If I click on OK now, it will change the box to green. As you can see, there is an outline to the box there that's in blue. I don't really want that in place. Ideally, we want it white, but you can use the paper when it's printed to give you a bit of a tiny white border to it. So if I just go online, at the moment it's defaulted to blue. I can just change that to no line. And then when you're cutting it out, just leave a tiny edge around there as the prototype sign would be. The next thing to do is to alter the size. You can drag this to any size you want, really. I'm going to set mine by going into more layout options, size, and I'm going to change that to 4.93, and I'll change the width to 4.09. Click on OK, and that alters the size of the box. As I say, you can just drag it to make it any size you want. So the next thing we'll do, and probably the most complicated, is to add the roundabout or the road shape, as in the bottom left-hand corner there of the box I've already made up. So to do that, we want to go into Insert, Shape. We'll go Oval, because I can't find a circle. We'll click there, and we'll just make that a bit smaller. I want that to be a certain size. If I click over more layout options, right click on more layout options, go to size, I'm going to make it 1.25 by 1.25. So we've got a circle there. Next thing we need to do is to make it into a white circle. So we've got over here the format, shape and colour. So I can simply change the colour to white. Don't want any line around the outside because, as you can see, it's blue at the moment. So we'll click on no line. That turns it into a white circle. So there we've got the basis of it. I'm just going to move that up just a little bit for now. And then we're going to insert another circle inside that circle. So insert shapes, oval, click again. Could have just copied and pasted it, I suppose, but there we go. So I'm going to make that circle by right-clicking over the border, more layout options, size. I'm going to make that not too far removed at that. I'm going to make it 0.75 by 0.75, and then we'll get an exact circle. I'm going to pop that into the middle. It looks to be about the middle, I think. Yep. And again, we're going to change that colour to green. And it's a recent colour, the green that we've used, so I can use recents there in the box. We change that. We don't want any line around the outside again, so change that to no line. There we go. We've got the basis of a roundabout in the middle. So next thing we need to do is to put in the roads going off it and the break there in the circle. The easiest way I found to put in the break in the circle is to insert a shape, but this time do a triangle. So if we put in a triangle and we just make that quite a bit smaller, to about that size maybe, turn it round, and we'll simply put it over in the appropriate part, maybe just a tad smaller. And then again, we're going to change the colour and we're going to change it to green this time so it blends in the rest. So again, it's a recent colour, change it to recent colour. Again, we don't want any form of line. Click over there and there we go. We've got the break in the roundabout. So the next thing to do is to put in the roads radiating off it. So we want to do, again, insert shapes, put in a rectangle, click anywhere. Make that into some form of narrow rectangle. Over the sign, just make it a little bit lower. That'll do. So we're just going to then turn it so it's pointing to about 1 o'clock, something like that. Again, we're going to change the colour, so simply change that to white this time. Again, we don't want a line, and we're going to just drag it up, put it over there. Oops, just have a little bit more angle on it, I think. So there we go, we've got the road radiating off into the port. The easiest way to do the others I've found is just to copy and paste one of those. So if you go hover over it, right click, go copy, right click, paste, it inserts it up there. You can just move it around, alter the shape of it, probably have it a tiny bit smaller. I think that's the road off into the warehouse part of the docks at Mallaig. So again, we've got the road radiating off there. Again, we'll do another right click, paste again, and you get another rectangle, the same as the first one. We're going to change, didn't mean to pick that up. Click on that rectangle and we'll just radiate it round. That goes off into the Mallaig centre of the village. Just make that one a little bit shorter. There we go, we've got one going off there. And then again, we right click, paste. We've got another rectangle. This time we're going to drag this to the bottom. This is for the main A road coming in. So we'll just swivel that round until it goes vertical. So right, drag that over roughly to where it is. Now, as this is the main road going in, what I'm going to do there is make it a bit thicker, because that is the main road going in. So click out of it, and there we go. We've got a pretty good representation of the traffic island sign. One thing I like to do as well, which makes it easier if you want to manoeuvre it around at a later stage, is just to group all those parts of the roundabout together. So if we click on the individual components, if we left click on each of the roads going together, do the first one, and then press the shift key on the keyboard, click the second one, click the triangle, click the center in the center circle, click the big circle, click the bottom road going in, click that road going out, all while holding the control key down, sorry, not the shift key. And then if we right click over it all and then go group, we've got an image there that's in one that we can move around as we move forward with the design. So the next thing we need to do is to insert the white boxes with the destination against the roundabout. So the way I've done this in the past is to go click on text box. We can go for a simple text box there. It makes it quite large, but you can make that considerably smaller by just dragging it from the corner, pick it up, take it into the sign. So if we then click on all of the words, what I want that to be is a certain font, and we want that to be the transport font. So if I go to home, having highlighted all of the wording, go to home, click on there. You've previously downloaded your transport fonts from the zip file I talked about earlier. So we put in transport there. I'm going to make that 7 font. Okay, so we can just delete all of that now. So if I just hit the delete key, it'll get rid of all the dummy text that's in there, leaving me room to put in both the Gaelic and the English version of the port area. So if I put in AIRD, Basser in there, that's a little bit big. You need to make that, doesn't change the font, sorry. So we change it back to transport, put in 7. That's better. And then what I'll do there is I'll just centralize that. Right, I think the paragraph spacing is going to be wrong. So I want to make that paragraph spacing set that to auto for now. We'll put in Ard Bazaar. Trying to do the spell check on it. Again, we'll just go into that paragraph spacing because it needs to be a little bit closer. We'll change that to 0. That's not working, is it? Remove space before paragraph. So click on that and it will join them up together. We now want to make the top Gaelic version that appears to be in green on the prototype. So again, if we go to the font colour there and use recent colours, that should just change Ard Abaser to the green font. So the best thing to do here is just try and shuffle it up a bit so it looks right. We've got the image to put in shortly, which we'll do in a moment. The next thing to do, I think really, the best thing to do is to click on the outside of that box. The first thing we need to do is to get rid of the border. So we don't want a line around the outside. So that's got rid of that. Right click over it, go copy, paste. We'll get the same box, but we're going to adjust it. I'm going to pick it up and drag it down here, alter the shape slightly. Put that in there. We want that text in there. We want that in green to say MEADHAN, Meaden space BHAILE, and we want that in black to say village centre. B8008. So you just then have to jiggle this box around a little bit to make it work. Right, so if we go just to there and just shuffle that, we've got a bit of a gap. Drag that down. It's just really a case of positioning this so that it all works quite nicely. There we go. We're going to put the parking and the information sign in. Again, we can go copy. So if we right click over it, copy, paste. Get rid of that wording. We want that ind dot est dot, because that's what the prototype sign says. Make that box smaller. And we've got that. We've got that box positioned there. It does want to be black, so we'll just change that to black. There we go. We've got the basics of the sign. So the next thing we need to do is to put in the symbols for ferry, parking and tourist information. And you can get these images, I guess you could screen grab them from pictures on the internet if you wanted to. You can get them from the government's website, as I mentioned before, and there is an index, because they're quite difficult to find. There's an index there under image details. Direction and tourist signs, the JPEG images and the ferry and the information are in that one, and the parking symbol is under on-street parking, which I've already downloaded. So if we now go back to the Word documents that we've been working on, and we open those up, what I'll do now is screen grab these ferry images and get those put in. So the first one I'll do is the ferry. So I've already opened it, and it's number 2136 for the ferry. Now, it isn't exactly as we want it. As you can see there, it's got an arrow sign. But what I can do to mirror it with the actual sign is Mallaig is to do a snip. So I've already opened the snip image. So if I go snip, you can't see that on the screen, but I've done it on another screen. So if I just snip out the part I want, and that didn't work very well, did it? So I'll do it again. So that should do it now. If I do that, just get rid of that image and then right click on the Word document I want and paste it. It will obviously give us a much bigger image, which I can then shrink down and drop onto the sign there. So that was quite straightforward and worked quite well. Industrial estate we don't need to worry about. What we do need is the parking sign there and the information sign. So I've already got those open in preparation. And again, as you can see, it doesn't give me the exact symbol I want, but I will be able to snip from that. So use the snipping tool, as I did before with the ferry. This is part of Windows 10, 11, or whatever you're working on. And if I take that, grab it like that, just get rid of the image. Again, we want to right click over the document we're working on, paste it, grab it at the corners, make it considerably smaller, and then drop it onto the part of the thing of the document we want. If we want it over to the, we want it over to the right, that one, don't we? So if we move that over to the right, make it a fair bit smaller. We've got that information one in. So what we then need to do is to grab the parking one. So same principle, I've already opened a parking one. We use the snipping tool again, which enables me to copy the P, get rid of it, and then right click and paste again. And we've got a larger image, just make it smaller. It's gone over there for some reason. We'll drag it over here, make it smaller. And that one over to the left. Let's put them all over to the left, put them in the centre. Put the words up. And there you go. You get the idea. It's not exactly the same. You could just play about with it and get it all configured as you want it. So the next thing we need to do is to get that printed off, which I'll cover off in a moment. So finally, what you might want to do, so you're not wasting paper, is to do any other signs you may have. So very quickly, I'm going to rustle up this Welcome to Mallaig brown sign. So quite simply, what we need to do is to insert a text box. So if we go up here and we go to insert text box, and pop it down here somewhere. Sorry, insert text box. We'll do a simple text box. We just need to make it a bit smaller, like so. Widen it out a bit. Okay, get rid of the text, and then we want to make it. The brown color. So to do that, we go to Format Shape. We want a solid fill. We just need to change the color. So we go into More Colors, custom, and on the government's web page that I referred to earlier, it gives you the RGB equivalent numbers for the brown signs, and they are red is 121, green is lost it, 68, and the blue is 0. So that changes it to brown. We OK that, and it sends it brown. We don't want a line around it because it needs to be white. And again, when we're cutting it out, just leave a white edge. So then we need to actually add the text. So we'll put Rathadnan Ayin in there, which is welcome to the Isles, or something like that. I'm going to make that into white text. So change it to white. We'll put it at font 3, and we'll change it to transport font so it matches up with everything. Okay, we go there. So if we then go down to the middle and we type in there, welcome to Mallaig, first in Gaelic. So underneath Road to the Isles, we go FAILTE dash Mallaig, spelt with one L. We want to center it up. So if we tap there, center it up, we'll have that slightly bigger than 3. We'll have that 4. So it's a little bit bigger. We're all centered. So we then put it in English. Welcome to Mallaig with 2 L's. What we don't want is that big gap. So if we go there, do the line and spacing, remove the spacing. Another couple of gaps, and then we want all tourist services. That should probably do it. I'll have that a little bit smaller. We'll have that in size 3, as it is in the prototype. We probably need to make that box a little bit smaller. Okay, and then as you can see over here, we've got this Scottish tourist symbol, which I've tried to find, and it is on the Scottish Government's website. So if I drag that across there, that's all one image there. So there's no good trying to just cut and paste that. So what we'll do is it'll snip that little, we'll use the snipping tool again. So we'll go snipping tool, new, and we'll just cut out that thistle sign there. So we've got a copy of that. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. Just click in the box, go Control and V. That's obviously far too big. We just grab it by the corner, make it a bit smaller. What we might need to do now is to just tab across. Just make that a little bit bigger. It's then a case of fiddling around a little bit until you can get it right, but that's basically how you do it. So you're now at a point where you can print 2 road signs off once you've got the text on there in the way you want it. So as you can see now by looking at the right-hand photograph, which is a photograph I took in 2015 of the sign at Mallaig, you've got a pretty good representation of that sign. If you look at Street View today, it does look slightly different. I've got a feeling they may have changed the signage somewhat, perhaps to recognise some new Scottish symbols or something. I'm not 100% sure. However, I think it's a pretty good representation and it will more than do for me. So the next thing to do is to print it off. Now, I've been using semi-gloss paper. I've got a Canon printer, so I'm using Canon photo paper and it's worked pretty well. So on my settings, it's File, Print. I'm using a Canon G3020. Change the properties to photo papers, and it's the semi-gloss photo paper. So I'm just going to change that. The printer paper size I'm using is 4 inches by 6 inches or 10 by 15 centimeters. So we set that, and then simply insert your paper and print it. And you should have a good copy of a sign.
So, having printed the road sign out, what we now need to do is to cut it from the bigger card, and I've been using these Plastruct round rods, the 2.5mm, which I think is to scale something like 7.5 inches in diameter, which probably isn't too bad for the width of a post. It's maybe a tiny bit small for a massive sign. If you're doing smaller signs, you can get 1.5mm rounds as well. If you've got any scrap materials, similarly you could use those. I have been painting these grey to match, and I've not actually measured the height under a road sign, but I would imagine the bottom of the road sign is probably about 8 foot from the ground, 8 to 9 foot from the ground. So you need something like 45mm, something like that, to allow a little bit to go into the baseboard as well. So what I'll just do first of all is cut this road sign out, the final bit. I've cut most of them out, or I've cut 3 of the sides off. I'll just cut one more because there's a final bit to do. There you go. I've probably not got it bang on, but what I also do is, you can see the edge is very white there. So if you just get a brown Sharpie pen, I'm using a brown Sharpie pen here. If you've got a grey one, so much the better. Just go over the edges like that. If you're in a position where the sign is visible at the rear as well, it would also be useful to paint that grey or mark that up grey, brown, different colour like that. If it's visible, it doesn't matter if it's not visible. But if you go around the edges, it's not as white and visible. And then I'm not going to cut the plastic rod, but quite simply turn it over. I found that Uhu glue works pretty well. So if you put 2 of those on there, you leave enough rod to go into the layout. To drill a hole and put into the baseboard. Have another one there. There you have one road sign.